to Season 37 of PSGL F2 powered by GT Omega. Last week we had an enthralling start to the campaign at Silverstone, didn't we? Last lap overtakes and collisions between drivers duelling for the victory, and hopefully this week we have some more hard-fought battles as we continue to move throughout this calendar across the Atlantic this week from Northamptonshire in England to the Hard Rock Stadium in the States for the Miami Grand Prix. Still a recent addition to the calendar, first arriving on the scene in 2022 as part of the influx of street circuits in the current Liberty era. It's already been a venue for some very notable moments as well. The fake harbour with journalists and broadcasters pretending to swim in it is a personal favourite of mine. I don't think we'll see any of that action this afternoon or this evening or this morning, wherever you're watching in the world right now. We're getting ready to go though for our 18-minute 18-minute qualifying session, not one shot. That would be very exciting though. Let's point out the elephant in the room straight away. We can see some drivers are ghosted. That is because, and this is due to some penalties that were handed out last week that I will go over in a few moments' time. Slipstreaming. To completely cut out slipstreaming in qualifying, the cars are going to be ghosted, so we're going to have a restart between qualifying and the race. That is the way we are going to go through this. And as well, we can see everybody still in the F1 World Car, so like last week as well, we're going to have to refer to the cars by their colours like they do in the horse racing from time to time as well, and the cycling in the Tour de France with the yellow and green jacket, although that is slightly different, I must say. But Miami though, very, very exciting circuit. We've probably had the best race here in 2024. 2022 was a bit of a stinker, we have to admit. 2023 was alright, and then 2024 with Lando Norris taking his first victory in F1. McLaren have got into a bit of a habit of bottling races since then, but we're going to see if any of our drivers can manage to lead a lights to flag victory, which a lot of drivers aren't able to do at the moment. Yasir Saki is the first driver out on track, and we are going to follow the driver in the, well, what are we calling this? The gold and white and black livery. Well, it's like a chocolate bar wrap, a little bit of sort of a brownie colour in there as well. We're going to go on board with Yasir Saki for the first lap of the session. Obviously a brand new track, or a relatively new track, only been in for the last couple of years. Down into turn number one, you've got to be really careful of that inside curve, bit of a lock-up as well. And then this part of the circuit is very, very treacherous, mounting the curves, a little bit of oversteer on that second one there, but it is still nice and tight as we come up to what is my favourite corner on the circuit, turn 4. Throw the car in there, hope it sticks. Charles Leclerc didn't manage to make it stick in this sequence of corners in 2023. Then this corner, it's endless, lasts for so long. Got to be careful you don't track extend on the exit. And a pretty decent first set from Yasir Saki, it has to be said. And on to what is technically the back straight, you could say, although maybe not, but it's got a lot of kinks in it as we come up to the heavy braking zone of turn number 11. Expect to see a lot of overtakes here in the race. People jostling for positions down into the stadium section. Click the inside curve, throws the car out wide a little bit as we come up into the main stadium section, and what is referred to sometimes as the Mickey Mouse part of the track. It is very difficult to get two cars side by side there. We might see someone go for an audacious move as we go through this sequence of corners. Nicely done, don't take too much curb, it can unsettle the car significantly, but we're way on to what is probably now the main back straight. As we come up to the final couple of corners, it's a difficult final couple of corners to be fair as well. The car just sort of, it feels like you get dragged into the wall on the right hand side through this hairpin of turn 17. The traction's also not great. See a lot of drivers in real life locking up and going down the escape road, and into the kink of 18 and 19 on the run up to the line. Yasir Saki with a pretty decent time to kick off the session. We're in the mid 1 minute 25, so you'd expect that to probably be eclipsed as the track conditions improve, but that is the benchmark for our drivers to try and attest. Here's Nordic Ninja over the line, and I think that was an invalidated lap there, a 26.4 it's said, and that's certainly not going to be good enough if they're going to be challenging for pole, as Nordic Ninja was. They were really competitive last week in Silverstone. We're going down the list. Who can we find? Marius Formula race winner last time out as Vasquez and Jiang get their first times on the board, 25.7 apiece for those two drivers, separated by just over half a tenth. Looked a little bit shaky from Marius Formula going into turn number 17. Masapa drops into the 26s there as Zane up into second on 25.6. Is this going to be provisional pole? Yes, it is, by nearly 0.2 of a second for Marius Formula. First driver into the what we'd probably class as the low 1 minute 25s, 25. 29.3, 6 times on the board at the moment. A couple of quality bands to talk about. ET8 Paul, the main one in the pink car, the Pink Panther car, because if you remember last week, had an incident in qualifying with themselves and Darth FIFA, as we can see there with ASRT Christian invalidating their lap. 25.8 wouldn't have been challenging right at the sharp end as Diogo Silva has popped up into 6th, make that 7th as Darth FIFA, who we were just talking about, jumps up into 4th. But yeah, ET8 Paul impeding Darth FIFA in the previous qualifying session on the run into Stowe Corner. That is why they have a quali ban. Devin Slurve, the slowest of the times so far in the McLaren Esports liveried car, 11th of 11 drivers, and nearly a second off the pace at this stage. We'll probably expect the field spread to be a little bit greater than what we saw at Silverstone, just because a couple more slower corners, a couple more technical parts of the circuit as well. With Silverstone, you can really just throw it in there, and there's a lot of how confident you are through these high-speed corners, and especially through the Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel section, Copse Corner as well. And I think in this case, we're going to see a lot of drivers making up time or losing time through what we referred to as the Mickey Mouse section earlier on, that, well, what are we calling it? 13, 14, 15 and 16 complex? We'll have to wait and see how they manage to deal with it. 11 times on the board so far, a couple of invalidated times, notably ASRT Christian, who seems to be going again, although that ERS light flashing at the back of the car probably indicates, yes, and you can see the 100% ERS charge, that this is just going to be a cool down lap, recharge the battery and go again. Casper Flack in the pits, Lakitu and MF. That's definitely not it. FMD Nico on an outlap, at this stage of the session. We've had 6 minutes of the session so far. Lakitu, big lock up into turn number 1 in the Alpine Esports liveried car, mounting the curves through turns 2 and 3. Manages to keep the car fairly stable, but a little bit of a lazy knock into the wall there as we come up towards turn number 4. Don't think there was any damage incurred, and also very loosey-goosey on the curb on the inside of turn 4 as well. Messy first sector, it has to be said, for Lakitu, who was right at the back of the pack, it has to be said, in Silverstone last week, and a 29.9 isn't the most competitive first sector time we have seen so far, unfortunately enough. Moving round through the kinks of this, are we going to call it a straight? We need to have a debate on this. Do we classify this as a straight? It is a DRS straight, of course, coming up into the braking zone of 11. Another lock-up for Lakitu, but this time manages to negotiate the curbs without losing the back end. Very easy to do, it has to be said, on this game, especially since the new patch. Very easy also to invalidate your times, going very wide, taking a little bit too much curb there, it has to be said. Bit of a messy first lap of the session, it has to be said, for Lakitu. 8.86, it will probably be around that 1 minute 26 club that we've got with Sipala, Even Nye and IRT. Devin, Gornico and Moustache further behind them on this lap. Manages to get the car nice and tight, but again unsettles slightly, putting the power down. Lakitu entering the pits, not happy with that flying lap, and will stay 15th at the moment with just 11 times on the board. Moustache was in the lead fight last week in Silverstone, also in the Alpine Esports liveried car. We're hoping for some pace that was similar to what we saw, although did get in a last lap skirmish with Spanias, I think it was, going through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. The latter not here this week, unfortunately, because they were very quick and we had some very tasty battles. Here's Moustache up to line. Can we get close to Marius Formula? We can get close. We can eclipse it. First driver into the 125.2s as Yasisaki and Casper Flack retire from the session. Oh, I may have missed something here. Are we doing a restart? Yes, we are doing a restart. The first half of the session has unfortunately got to be put in the bin here. See if we can maybe get some news, maybe something to do with the shadows and the time of day. So everybody retiring there, and we'll be unfortunately having to go again. So while we do have this little lull in play, we can maybe talk about the couple of sponsors that are kindly partnered with PSGL here. First one, obviously we mentioned it in the intro, it is GT Omega. Some fantastic things you can get your hands on there. If you use the code PSGL at checkout, you can get 5% off some of their products, and I implore you to go over there and have a look. And also Sim Racing Centre SRC, if you use the same code PSGL, that'll give you 10% off those services. Make sure to get on board with those lovely little discounts there. So as we wait for Vasquez and Gian to retire from the session, hopefully they do so in a couple of moments time. And we'll be going again. Just Vasquez now, and they've invalidated that lap already. So there we go. End of the session. This is not for everybody watching the real qualifying order. We are going to have to go once more and restart that 18-minute session. And yeah, get going once more. Apologies if you can hear the hopefully not too aggressive typing there as we reset. I don't think we're doing a lobby reset. We're just jumping into the race, and then we're all going to retire. We might get to see a little bit of fun as we kick off the race. This is a bit of a faux start, you could say, because we are obviously not counting this one. I think that the weather will probably be the same. I think it's just the time of day, unless the weather was randomised, of course. But I think it was the time of day that was the main issue there with the shadows that people were experiencing. Diogo Silva back in the session. I think we did have a couple of drivers leave, which is a little bit concerning. Hopefully they get back in there. And collisions are still off, of course, because we need to have a restart between qualifying and the main race to get those collisions back on. And we can see some donuts. We can see some classic F1 open lobby starts. Maybe, actually, no, because we've got collisions off. Although we've got cars in the wall all over the place, brake failures and such going into turn number one. An absolute party in the runoff area at turn number one there in some texturing that looks awfully similar to the fake harbour that we mentioned earlier on. So yeah, a little bit of fun, a little bit of light entertainment as we get going for this restart. Attempt number 2 at getting our qualifying session up and running. So yeah, a false start. Seen a few of those. But we're going to get going in about, hopefully, less than 5 minutes time. It shouldn't take too long to get everything sorted, and we can have a run around once again with everybody setting their first flying laps of the session. Who got the win there? It was even nice. I accidentally clicked into the race director. These are not your official results, and somehow we managed to get a 3-way tie for second. If we get something like that in the real race, that will be hugely exciting. Yasisaki Devin and Diogo Silva finishing just over a tenth off the race winner of Even Nye, who lasted 32 seconds in the race. Hugely exciting stuff. So I take a sip of my water to cool the throat as we are getting ready to go once again. 30-second timer at the top of screen. It shan't be too long until we get underway once again. And there we go. Loading back into the lobby, and we'll be kicking off very shortly. What should we talk about in the meantime? We've done a little bit of advertising for the brilliant companies that PSGL are partnered with. As an Englishman, I don't want to talk about the European Championships for all the Europeans that might be watching this. Painful experience, it has to be said. Congratulations, obviously, to Spain, but yeah, dagger to the heart, has to be said. Unfortunately, did not come home, although everybody else in the world was delighted that England failed to get over the line in that final. Got some big sporting events coming up. Got the Hungarian Grand Prix this weekend, of course. Can McLaren finally get on the top step? Mercedes looking strong. Where will Ferrari be? We don't know. And obviously, well, one Red Bull will be towards the front. The other one a little bit unpredictable at the moment. So hopefully we get the correct settings for the time of day. People are rating up. We want to wait for that magical 30-second timer to appear at the top of our screens when over half the grid have readied up. And we'll be kicking off for the second time as the rain pours incredibly heavily outside my window. For people in the UK, at least today, been a horrible day. Rain absolutely bucketing it down. Wonder if we'll see similar conditions in Miami, although judging by the average climate we see in the United States and especially in the Miami area, I don't think we'll be seeing the torrential rain that I'm currently looking at. There's the magic message at the top of screen. We're starting in just over 20 seconds. So apologies everyone for the delay and the slight restart that we have had to go through. But yeah, we will be underway. Hopefully, touch wood, cross fingers, all of those little superstitions that we hold on to. We'll be getting into this and hopefully getting through the 80-minute session seamlessly this time. Will it be Yasisaki first out on track again? Who knows? Get your bets in and we'll have to wait and see. What was the time we saw, though? It was Moustache with a 25.2. And from the looks of it on the outside, it looked like a fairly decent lap time, it has to be said. So we'll be slightly disappointed with the restart, but we'll be hoping to match that result. Should we go through last week's results? Because we did have a couple of penalties that we need to talk about. So Marius Formula taking the victory. Fascinating and fabulous final lap scrap behind Marius Formula getting the lead on that last lap into Stowe Corner. Jian ending up in second, was a reserve. Started a little bit down the order. I think was 11th. Yes, 11th. Down in 15th or 16th at one point, just before the first round of pit stops. Charged through with a big undercut to get up into second. And then Moustache, who qualified second, ended up third. Got bumped down right at the end. Then came Nico, Nordic Ninja, Spanias Zane, Kasabi, Pepin, who we need to talk about in a moment, and Vasquez. Pepin did pick up a 5-second post-race penalty. Crossed the line in third, got overtaken round the final corner by Jian. As Yasisaki is not the first driver out on track in this session. But overtaken into the final corner and then picked up a post-race 5-second penalty for using slipstream in qualifying. I hope, or that may have been down to me, because I think we did ride on board with a lap with Pepin where it certainly potentially looked like they were getting a little bit of slipstream. That was the same for Tailsper, who was right at the sharp end for the majority of it, got shuffled down in the final scraps late on and picked up another 5-second penalty post-race and ended up falling outside of the points-paying positions. Unfortunately, enough for the driver that should be in a Red Bull, but while we still are unsure about the status of the equal cars, or unequal cars, little bug in the game at the moment. They'll be driving the custom F1 World cars, some of whom have some very nice liveries. I remember last week we had a considerable number of bright green cars, which they're easy to spot, don't get me wrong, but slightly confusing when everybody was running the same livery, green and purple. It was like the aliens had invaded us down in Silverstone. I'm not sure who that is. I think that's Moustache leading the field. So we will get, we won't put the tyres on, but we will get the lap data up and running. ET8 Paul, the only driver in the pits, of course, with that qualifying ban that we mentioned earlier on. And we're going to go with the man that was on provisional pot. I say man, could be a child, we don't know. In the Alpine Esports liveried car, clattering the curbs, really riding them going through turns 2 and 3 there, and up to turn number 4. This is where we saw that little bit of a mistake from Lacti, also in the Alpine Esports liveried car. This is much cleaner than the rear end, stepping out a little bit from Moustache, had to have a slight correction to hold on to it, otherwise they were going to be pitched in the barriers on the right hand side. Nice and tidy though through the very, very long left hander, and that is a 29 flat, and I believe that is a pretty competitive first sector split time as we come around the kinks of 9 and 10 towards the heavy braking zone of turn number 11. Like we said, expecting a lot of overtaking action into here, whether that's just DRS swapping in the race or actual battles. Bit of a lockup, clatters the inside curb, but manages to keep it within the white lines, and up into the stadium section we go, into the 13, 14 and 15 complex. Very easy to get it wrong, very easy to clatter over the curbs and potentially damage the car as Max Verstappen did in real life. A little bit wide through 16, but keeps it out of the Qatar Airways barriers, and is a 1 minute 0.4 through the first couple of sectors. Now you're just pulling gears up towards turn number 17. A couple of drivers did come across here. You look at the ERS usage, down to only 10% there, burning it all as we come into the hairpin of 17. Bit of a lock up again on the inside, but manages to get the car rotated pretty nicely, and now once again just pulling gears up to the line. It was a 25.2 previously. Are we going to eclipse that? Well, I think he beats it by 1 millisecond. ET8 Moustache, not Mustard. Casper Flack is half a second down in the McLaren Esports livery car, 25.7. Moustache getting very competitive early on as Nordic Ninja jumps up into second place. We're going to jump on board with Diogo Silva, who's early in the lap. Darth from Vasquez in the mid-25s as well. Can we find... let's go with Marius Formula, actually, coming through turn 16 right now. Nico's into that 1 minute 25.4 club as well. Yasisaki matching their first flying lap from the previous session we had of a 25.7. Jian up into 5th place there, and Lacti struggling once again, 26.6. Half a second adrift from Carlitos in 10th. At the moment, Marius Formula way too late on the brakes, down into 17. Lock up to boot as well. Way too wide, certainly not troubling the apex there. And this should be slightly compromised as we come over the line. Yes, 25.6, 3/10 down on the time they set in the previous session. And will certainly be disappointed with that. So a lot of time to find for Marius Formula. We know currently still 0.2 of a second between first and second. Moustache looking ominous out in front. ASRT Christian, who was one of the last over the line, in fact, up into second on a 25.3 as we're talking about that, and Sipala a little bit wide there, and a 31.6, certainly not pulling up any trees through the first sector, and I would imagine we'll back off on this lap. And you see the ERS charge, I think they have backed off on this final lap in the default livery car, 19th of 19. Chat, what a lovely man to see in the building. Oh, a little bit of a nudge of the wall there going through the start of the stadium section. That's a nice little tongue twister as we get. Oh, a little bit squirmy there with Sipal at 22, invalidating the lap to boot as well. Drivers back into the pits. We've reached the stage that we got last time, 12 minutes into the qualifying session. Hopefully we can complete the final 12 minutes with no dramas. DRS flap open, but won't be challenging on this lap. ET8 Paul, just to remind everybody, is serving a qualifying ban. The victim of ET8 Paul, Darth FIFA, started the session very nicely up in fourth on a 125.4. Is just over 0.2 off the benchmark pace of Moustache, who's looking very, very competitive. Didn't take pole last week. That was Pepin, who isn't with us this week. Pulled out a little bit late. Which is a shame because we saw some great racing with Pepin and we saw some outstanding pace as well. Everybody into the pits. Interesting to see what tyre strategies everybody goes for. Will they be using all three sets of soft compound tyres? Will they be sticking on a used set for this next run and then saving one fresh set for the end of the session and one fresh set for the race? We didn't have any late race safety cars last time out in Silverstone, so anyone that did save the soft compound tyres would have used them off the start, but then didn't get the advantage late on. We also saw, interestingly enough, that the alternate strategy of starting on the medium tyres as Vasquez is the first out onto the track for the second runs of the session. It didn't really work, the medium to soft strategy last week. Lost a lot of time in that changeover period. I think it was Diogo Silva who at one stage was looking very promising, held position nicely in the first stint on the medium tyres, then dropped behind the other driver that started on the mediums, which I believe was Kasabi, who isn't with us this week. Kasabi did end up finishing in 8th, picked up a couple of points. Diogo Silva was down in 12th after post-race. I think they obviously disconnected or crashed over the line, because it says they're 17th here, but ended up 50 seconds in front of even Nye. So the maths don't be mathsing there. Vasquez into the stadium Mickey Mouse section, trying to get some heat into these tyres is very important. A little bit more important than it was on the previous game to try and get these tyres warmed up nicely, so you've got the optimal grip for your flying lap. Vasquez, one of the few drivers that, if you look at their flying lap, they're the only one in that little sequence. We've got a lot of drivers on the 125.4s, and then we've got Vasquez 25.5, Marius Formula 25.6, and their group behind 25.7, 25.9. They're trying to set up the ultimate line, coming through 17 to get the foot to the floor and charge towards the start-finish line to start their second flying lap of the session. We're going to ride on board with the driver that looks like it's a McLaren Esports livery car, but it isn't. It's just in the McLaren Esports livery colours with the orange wheel covers and the black in there as well. Pretty neat and tidy through the first couple of corners up towards turn number 4. Got to be incredibly brave as you throw the car in. Don't lose it on the curb, which is easy to do. Little bit of maybe a little bit of oversteer there, just going through the right of turn number 5, but managed to keep it in check nicely. Very close to exceeding track limits, and it's a decent first set from Vasquez. Found nearly 0.2 of a second, a little bit down on what Moustache set earlier on in the session, but this should be a nice improvement if they can keep this going throughout the whole lap, sticking all the way over to the left hand side, trying to minimise the distance, and then moving over to the right so you get the best line possible into turn number 11. Another lock up, seeing a lot of drivers locking up there. Keep note of that for the race. We could be seeing the front left tyres struggling a lot with wear when we come to the end of the stint. Another lock-up, clatters the curves, but rides them pretty nicely. A little bit out of shape. Coming out of 15 and taps the wall on the run-up to 16. No, he doesn't. There was a little bit of netcode and lag involved there. And Vasquez, thankfully enough, is back on track. Found another couple of hundredths through the middle sector, 0.2 up. This is potentially challenging to get up into second provisionally, but obviously everybody behind still on their second flying laps as well. We don't know if people are on used tyres, of course, Also, looking up again into turn number 17, doesn't use the curb and doesn't understeer too much, and now once again pulling gears, run out of ERS, burning all of it up to the line, and that is Vasquez into the 25.2s. Competitive time found a quarter of a second, but that is Gian, the first driver, into the 25.1s, setting the new benchmark. Who else have we got? Nordic Ninja improving a little bit through the first couple of sectors. Does find time, but only 400th, remains in 6th place. Zane coming down the back straight. Got to watch out for Marius Foreman as well. Nico's pitted, as has Devon. They obviously weren't improving on their flying laps. Maybe use a used set of soft compound tyres. Yasisaki up into 7th, 25.3. Zane up into 4th, 25.222. The old Richie Benno. Moustache not improving as we come down the back straight. 16 milliseconds down, coming up towards turn number 17. No lock up there, so manages to get the car stopped nicely, and the rotation there was very nice indeed. No battery left. Can Moustache get back to the front as Marius Formula jumps 1 millisecond in front, and Marius Formula is 1 millisecond down on their personal best. What a nice little bit of symmetry there for us. I think that is the most of the final flying laps done. We've got a black car coming around the final couple of corners. Is that even 9? No, it's not Diogo Silva either. I think it might have been Darth FIFA actually just crossed the line. No, they're getting out of the way. So, there it was. ASRT Christian. We've got a green car coming out. I think that is Nico. But as Casper Flack has jumped up into second as well in all of that in the McLaren Esports livery car. So a changing of the guard out in front, it has to be said. Gian now the provisional pole sitter, 6 milliseconds ahead of Casper Flack. Marius Formula managing to get over the disappointment of that first flying lap, the mistake into turn 17, up into third, and 1 millisecond ahead of Moustache, who looked like a little bit of a bump and run there, the two Alpine Esports livery drivers in, I'm not going to say that, but you could all work out what I was about to say. Clattering over the curves as they're returning to the pits for what should be their final flying lap of the session. And then Zane, really good flying lap as well, was in F3 last season, challenging towards the sharp end of F2 on a 25.2. A lot of drives on the 25.2. Darth FIFA and Vasquez, who was the first, incidentally, to set their second flying lap of the session, separated by 3 milliseconds. Then it is ASRT, Christian Yasisaki and Nordic Ninja, who didn't find a lot of time on their second flying lap. Similar to last week, actually, as well in Silverstone. Quick out of the blocks, but then didn't improve a lot going through the rest of the session. Nico's been bumped down outside of the top 10. Then Matthias, Nye, Diogo Silva, Devin, Carlitos and Lakitu. Sipala still yet to get a flying lap on the board, and actually invalidated on their last time around. 6 minutes to go, and all to play for out in front, it has to be said. Let's bring up the distance to the leaders and look at how close it is. Top 10 covered by 2/10. That's what we love to see here in PSGL. The competitiveness, how close everybody is together. We have got a bit of a gap further back between Nico's, who's actually just starting flying lap. So we'll go on board with the green car, the green and purple liveried car, which is seemingly the favourite for a lot of drivers in there. A bit of a gap back to Matthias, now filled by Diogo Silva, although he'll be slightly disappointed by that unless it was a second flying lap on that set of tyres, jumping up into 12th place. What are we going to see from Nico, though? Coming through the twists and turns of this first sector is very nice and flowing up until you get to this corner, which, like I said earlier, is never ending. Is that purple? No, it isn't, but it is an improvement by just under a tenth. 29.1. A lot of drivers setting a 29.1 through that first sector. Ghosted car in front, so won't be feeling the effects of the slipstream, but maybe put off a little bit, has to be said. So hopefully they can get out of the way. Braking hard down into turn number 11. Once again, a driver locking up into this corner and try and keep it as tight as possible. Take the shortest run up towards the stadium section, the Mickey Mouse part of the circuit. A couple of drivers have come across here, but that is beautifully done by Nico. But maybe curse the commentator slightly because it was a very tight angle, but purple to the middle sector split. Nearly 2/10 up, and if they can find another improvement into turn 17, this could be challenging the other green liveried car this week of Gian for provisional pole positions. Drivers are coming out for their final flying laps in this qualifying session, braking hard from 8th down into 3rd gear, not using second to try and get the traction as best as possible out of this corner. It can be a little bit tricky, a little bit of understeer at the apex as well, but pulling gears up to the line. Is this provisional pole for Nico? It's not. Finds 2/10 of a second, but ends up 600ths down. You would imagine that's going to be their last lap of this qualifying session. It's competitive, but with how competitive it is and how close it is, especially inside the top 10, could find themselves getting bumped down a little bit. Look at that, Darth FIFA riding the curves through turns 2 and 3. We're on board with Vasquez, who has found half a tenth through the first sector. A tenth of a second will put Vasquez on the front row and potentially even higher, starting from pole position. through the kinks of 9 and 10, up towards the heavy braking zone of 11, staying very far over to the right before darting in, and I thought he was about to end up facing the wrong direction, but a little bit of lag involved, up towards 13 and 14. A little bit untidy over the curb, sends the car a bit wide, and then a snap on the exit. That could be lap ruin for Vasquez. We'll look at the sector split, and yes, nearly 0.2 of a second down. Probably won't find that in the final sector, so that could be Vasquez qualifying over and done with. Darth FIFA, the driver behind, was very tight into 13 there. Probably gained a lot of time. Slight lock up into 16. I would expect to see an improvement. Purple through the middle sector. Not surprised by that at all. And this would put Darth FIFA on provisional pole position. Hopefully, unlike what we saw last week with ET8 Paul, we don't see a driver getting into the way in the final couple of corners. Can they manage to negotiate turn 17? Can be a treacherous corner. A little bit too late on the brakes. Locks up to boot as well. And oversteer on exit also. Darth FIFA returning to the pits there. Mistake at the end of the lap. I think he's going to try and get a new set of boots on and come round for the end of the session. TRT Zane has invalidated. That could prove crucial. Who else is out there? Yasir Saki is 0.3 of a second down, is invalidated. Nordic Ninja 2 invalidated as well. Carlitos hasn't invalidated, but has gone slightly wide into 17 there. No lockup, but struggles to get the car rotating and returns to the pits. Getting interesting now. People struggling to get this final flying lap in the session. Yasisaki and Nordic Ninja return to the pits. I don't think they're going to have time to get around, it has to be said. So who is leading the way? I think it is Matthias. Yes, it is. In the baby blue of... well, it kind of used to be Alpine, didn't it? And then they decided that because the car was slightly too overweight, they weren't going to paint it at all, apart from some BWT stripes in there. Esports? No. The default livery with that Cosmos purpley pink texturing in there as well. Car number 5. And we'll be looking to move up towards position number 5. It has to be said, half a second away. Matthias needs to find a decent chunk on this final flying lap of the session. Warming the tyres up, as are the drivers behind, backing up. There's nobody in front, of course. They can't really get held up because we've got ghosting off. Away we go out of turn number 17, and this is going to be the first driver to set their final flying lap of the session with just over 90 seconds of it remaining. These are the laps that are going to count. Who's not going to get another run in? It's Zane in the pits. Bit of a lock up into turn number 1 for Matthias, but manages to keep it on the road, grinding over the curbs through 2 and 3. Charging up towards 4. Might get distracted by the car in front. Throw it in. Can lose the car on the curb on the inside. On both corners, in fact. But managing to ride them really, really nicely, it has to be said. Very decent first sector. A little bit of a lock up there and slightly wide through turn number 7 and 8. But that's a 29.1. Competitive first sector and found 0.2 on top of it as well. Won't get slipstream from this ghosted car in front, but does open that DRS flap. You can see it there. Got just under 40% of DRS charge left, not using the overtake on the run down into turn number 11. All the way over to the right-hand side. Lock up and a little bit sketchy and skatey on the exit as well. Will that cost them time and potentially a spot inside the top 10? Into 13. Almost cuts it. Does cut it there. That is lap over for Matthias, and that's going to be 14th place at best, unfortunately, for the driver in the baby blue, almost Alpine car. Who's behind them? I think Moustache is close behind. Yes, they are, and is finding time. A 10th and a half through the first couple of sectors. Can Moustache reclaim provisional pole? First time was a 125.218. Second time the session was a 125.219. Locking up slightly on the right front tyre there into turn number 17, but is very nice on the exit. Pulling gears, ERS deployed. No DRS at this stage. Overline we go. We're not into the 24s, but we are into the 25 zeros, and that is the benchmark for everybody to chase. Who's left? Checkered flag is out. Those cars are done. We've got to look for Marius Formula, who did improve but is only second, and by just under 100th of a second. Gian is finding time but is invalidated. Casper Flack has backed off as well. Who have we got to look for? Zane finding time through the first sector. A little bit unstable there though. Got to look for some other drivers that are in there. Diogo Silva's up by a 10th and a half, but that won't be challenging for provisional pole. Who's in there? Vasquez has invalidated. Darth FIFA is someone we need to keep an eye on as well, coming up towards the stadium section, the Hard Rock Stadium section. Here we go. Can they manage to not invalidate? A lot of drivers have done it. That was very clean from Darth FIFA. Could be challenging for provisional pole. What's the delta as we go over? Is purple, but only half a 10th up, so needs to find a whole heap of time as Gian didn't improve. Return to the pits. We saw that the green and purple car had invalidated. who's left. A lot of drivers have made mistakes. Nico is just behind, but is also invalidated. Into 17 we go with Darth FIFA. Tiny lock-up and a tiny puff of smoke, but gets the rotation nicely. Charging towards the line. Is this the driver that's going to take pole position away from Moustache? Over the line we go. Doesn't find enough time. Lost a little bit in the final sector and is only 7th fastest. We've got a car in the wall. That's Nico coming through turn 17. Has dropped it on the exit there. Zane is the only driver left, I think, that can challenge for provisional pole. Was up through the first sector. Is it going to be enough? No. Lost time further round the lap. 25.4, not an improvement. Stays in P5, but we'll be happy with their work. And it is Moustache and Mario's Formula on pole position and the front row respectively for the Miami Grand Prix. What a fascinating end to the session. A lot of drivers making mistakes late on, as George Morgan says good evening. Hello to the GOAT of the esports commentary, George Morgan. But it is Moustache leading from Mario's Formula. Gian had the provisional pole just before the final runs, but bumped down into third. Casper Flack also made a mistake on their final flying lap of the session. Sipala unfortunately didn't get a time on the board. Nitiek Pool with that qualifying ban also down in 18th. Back two in the other Alpine esports liveried car. Found 3/10 across the session, but slightly detached at the back of the pack. Same for Devin, even now. Matthias, good first sector, but made that mistake in the stadium section, unfortunately for them. And there we go. That is qualifying done. An exciting session. It flip-flopped a little bit more than what we saw in Silverstone last week. And it came right down to the death. Last week we also saw a decent gap in delta times between everyone. The top 10 were covered by 3.5 tenths of a second. That was Pepin down to Kasabi, coincidentally two drivers that are not racing this week. And the two leaders, Moustache qualifying second that time out. Mario's Formula was third, so they've both bumped up. That gap between Pepin, who was on pole, and Moustache was just over a third of a tenth in the end. An interesting story, looking from the results from last week, the gap between first and fourth, as we are having a little reset to turn the collisions back on. Otherwise, we'd basically just be playing time trial for 20... Oh, this is going to test my knowledge. 27 laps? Hopefully that's right. Could be wrong. 27 laps. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to put my neck on the line and say it's 27. But going back to that, the gap between first and fourth on the grid last week was 0.188 seconds. The gap between first and second over the line for the British Grand Prix, Mario's Formula back to Gian, was 0.147 seconds. That just shows how close it was to the line. Gian almost nicking it from Mario's Formula and Pepin and Moustache, who were battling extremely hard on the final lap. Spanias was in there as well, ended up being shuffled down to 7th after that collision through Maggots, Beckett's and Chappell. We're going to see for the second time this evening, in fact, some classic F1 open lobby moves. Who's going to be the first to pile drive into the barriers on the runoff into turn number 1. Got some donuts off the line. Look at this. Such a multicoloured grid when you don't have the real life cars. Boom! In we go. We've got a car flipping there. The purple Cosmos and black car. I'm not sure who it was. It's only Even Nye that's still going at the moment. But spectacular start. It'll be very interesting if we see what happens there. If we see that repeated going into the main race. If someone does a Sergio Perez but actually drives into them. Checo just missing his teammate, because that could have been even more disastrous for the Mexican, who is fighting to hold on to his seat in that Red Bull team, with the rumours coming out in the last couple of days. I wonder, let's see what the podium was. Obviously it was Even Nye who ended up classified first. Will this be the top two? It was Gian, that's certainly possible, coming home in second, and then Vasquez in third. 22 seconds was how long it lasted. Who lasted the least amount of time? I think it's Casper Flack there. If anyone wants to beat that. A lot of drivers further back. Lactu was disqualified. Matthias was very close, as was Sipala. I think it was Casper Flack that won the honour of being disqualified quickest. Yep, it is a lobby restart, everybody. Just so you don't think that's the actual results. That would be cataclysmic for PSGL. I think it is clear to see. But the new rule that was brought in to try and prevent from slipstreaming, because sometimes it can be unavoidable. We are turning collisions off for qualifying. Then we're restarting the lobby, getting the grid set, and then jumping back in. So that does, what it also does is completely nullify the point I was making earlier about saving soft tyres, because they're going to get them all back. 29 laps, we were close. I think it was 27, I said, a couple of laps off there, unfortunately. As we wait for everybody to load back in, hopefully we get the lobby settings right, fingers crossed, and we turn off qualifying and get that grid set. So if we have a look back to last week, is there anybody who's a little bit out of position qualifying wise? Well, Zane made a big jump up, was only 13th last week, just under, 1 millisecond under 4/10 off the ultimate pace, managed to almost half that deficit and jump up into the top 5. Diogo Silva was a little bit down the order compared to last week. Same with who am I looking at here? Darth FIFA obviously was down the order because they were compromised on their final flying laps. Big improvements. Vasquez found a lot of time. Was 19th last week and nearly 8/10 off the outright pace. That was a big improvement for the driver that should be in the V-Carb RB car, but isn't. No Thomas covers this week. Gian making an improvement as well. The pace from Gian, they must have made a mistake on their qualifying last week, because the race pace we saw, as well as what we've seen this week, has been hugely impressive. Qualifying in third was provisional pole position just before Moustache and Marius Formula pipped them to the post right at the death there. I think they'll be pretty happy with their performance, it has to be said. As we get the third water sip in of the stream so far. As we wait for the grid to be set. And for us to get going once more. So Marius Formula, winner last week, not by a lot, just about got it, but qualifying second here, up 1, with Moustache taking the pole, also improving by 1. We can get the final gaps, actually. I've just got a screenshot there. So the top 10 this week covered by just over a quarter of a second. 2.5 tenths from Moustache in first, back to Yasir Saki in 10th. Nordic Ninja just outside the top 10. Again, we saw it a little bit last week with Nordic Ninja. Started off well, but faded a little bit come the end of the session. But the pace is certainly there for the driver that I think is in the default F1 World liveried car. Nico's big improvement, along with Darth FIFA and Zane, like we said. So who's going to be able to take the challenge to Marius Formula, to Moustache, to Jan out in front? We'll have to wait and see as we come up to 50 minutes. It's going to be a long one, everyone. Get yourselves buckled in. Anyone waiting for the darts might end up missing the clash between Michael Smith and Gary Anderson. And potentially even MVG versus Luke Littler after that as well. But this is not darts. This is F1 in the virtual world. And I thought we were about to get going again because I saw a lot of beautiful green ticks on the right-hand side of screen. But I think we had a change there to the lobby settings, which is why everybody got reset. And we wait patiently, with enthusiasm though as well, because the pace differential, a little bit smaller than what it was last week. Field bunched up a little bit until you get to sort of P14 or 15 where those gaps extend a little bit further. So we could be seeing a nice battle between a lot of drivers. Last week I think we had, towards the end of the race, 9 or 10 cars in that leading group. And obviously it did result in Moustache and Spanias coming to blows on the final lap of the race. And there is the countdown and all the green ticks that we love to see there. And in just over 20 seconds, we'll be loading in to get ourselves underway for round number 2. Oh, we do have another little intermission. Once again, make sure you check out the sponsors GT Omega. If you use the code PSGL at checkout, you can get yourself 5% off their products. And why wouldn't you want to have a look at those? Some absolutely outstanding things you can get your hands on. And Sim Racing Centre SRC as well. If you want some coaching, some setups, some strategy work, all of those beautiful things using the same code PSGL at checkout, that'll be 10% off some of their services. And we are loading in. Exciting times. Tension building. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the strategies are going to be. Everybody's got those fresh sets of soft tyres back. So any late race safety cars, everybody will be on an even playing field. As people worrying in the PSGL Discord about collisions not being turned on. Hopefully we don't have that. That could be absolutely disastrous as we have to reload back in for what would end up being third time's a charm. Fuel loads being altered, maybe some last minute setup tweaks for things that aren't constrained by Parc Fermé. Altering the strategies. I hope we see some split strategies. That's always the most enjoyable racing action we see when we've got ideally all three tyre compounds on show on the grid. As we waiting for players. That bar at the top, and get hypnotic looking at the three bars filling in there. The people above the DHL sign going absolutely wild for the racing that hasn't yet started. Look at him. Look at him there in the middle punching fist. He knows we're about to see an absolutely incredible race over the next 45 minutes or so. I tell you, sir, I'm feeling exactly the same, I have to say. All the multicoloured front wings we can see. We can see the green and purple one for the aliens that have come down. A couple less aliens than we had last week. I think we had 4 or 5, only 1 or 2. And we are on the grid. Alpine Esports livery versus the Cosmos of purple and pink. It's 5 red lights ahead of the drivers. It is lights out and away we go. Moustache leading Marius Formula on the short run down into turn number 1. I think Moustache has had a fairly decent getaway and cuts across the inside to hold on to the lead. And this Marius Formula is under maybe a little bit of pressure from Gian. A couple of people jostling for positions behind the 2 alien cars there of Nico's batting. I think that's Gian going wide as well in third and fourth. Casper Flack trying to get involved. Darth FIFA under pressure, almost 3 wide into turn number 4. I think that was Vasquez who had to back out there. Car goes slightly wide. That might be Diogo Silva just outside the top 10. But that in front, still comfortable for Moustache and for Mario's Formula. Gian with a big train of cars behind. I think that's Nico's getting squeezed out there, going round turn 7 and 8. And now we'll be side by side with Yasisaki. Vasquez in there also, as is ASRT Christian. We could be 3 wide on the run down into the heavy braking zone of turn number 11. Battles further forward. Jan under pressure from Casper Flack, who's also up the inside of Mario's Formula. There was certainly contact there. We saw some debris flying off. Yellow car going wide, red car going wide as well further back. I think that might have been Carlitos in there, as well as maybe Sapala. We'll have to wait and see if we cut back, if anyone jumps into the pits. Devin's losing places as well, battling with Lakitu. ET8 Paul after that quali ban still at the back of the pack. But Casper Flack was very aggressive down in the braking zone of turn number 11. Got past Jan with the slipstream and probably a little bit of ERS usage. Couldn't quite get up into second place. We can see a car further back there that does have some front wing damage. And I think it might be Nordic Ninja. Lock up for brakes for all of the above coming into turn number 17. Darth FIFA slightly wide, as was Jan, who could now be under pressure from TRT Zane. 2 buddies racing in the same livery. Look at the gap out in front though, is it's the hard compound tyres. Fort Moustache will get the tyre compounds up for everybody. Little bit of a mix. Most drivers on the mediums, couple on the hards. Probably identifies actually how good a start Moustache had out in front, holding on to the lead on the slower hard compound of tyres. But Marius forming now, those mediums have got up to temperature all over the back of the pole sitter, with Casper Flack just nipping at the heels of them, waiting to pounce on any potential whoopsies from the drivers. We've got Nordic Ninja and Lakitu in the pits at the end of lap number 1, putting on the white striped hard compound tyres. Jan on the hards also under significant pressure from TRT Zane. Then it's Darth V from Vasquez, Yasisaki, Nico and ASRT Christian. Rounding out our top 10 there. Out in front, Marius Formula getting very close, probably using some ERS, using the DRS as well, which of course is now enabled on lap number 2. Big lockup, manages to keep it within the white lines just about, and does get up into the lead of the race. So it does change hands. Marius Formula leading from Moustache. Casper Flack sat just behind them as well. Unfortunately disconnected from the race last week. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen again. And is chomping at the bit in that McLaren Esports liveried car to get up into second with a little bit of a slow run out of 16. Could potentially leave them vulnerable down this long straight. And yes, look, Jean closing the gap a little bit. We'll have some DRS, as will everybody else in the chain though, so that advantage will be nullified. And unless we see an audacious lunge up the inside into 17, potentially replicating what Casper Flack did on the opening lap into turn number 11, as people get very close, locking up a brakes again as they deploy the smoke screens to stop the cars around and getting past. We stay in formation for the time being as Marius Formula sets that fastest lap of the race. Jostling for position behind Sipala up into 15th ahead of Devon, 2 drivers on the medium compounder tyres as the other McLaren Esports livery car in the field falls down a position with ET8 ball on hards, just observing, patiently waiting for an opportunity to get past one of these cars. And the first gap that we're seeing of some significance is Carlitos. They were the driver that went wide going into turn number 11. And they've dropped out of DRS range of the group in front, and they do have a little bit of front wing damage as well. I'm not sure if you caught it there, you can see it plain in sight, a little bit of front wing damage on the right hand end plate, and that's going to be a significant loss in downforce. That will also be a corner cutting warning, I'm sure, so we'll get off him and hopefully that improves his luck slightly. Darth FIFA very close to the back of Zane. Vasquez maybe dropping back a little bit. Are we going to see a lunge up the inside from anybody into turn number 11? No, we're not. We are going to see more lock up of brakes from a number of drivers as Devon and Sipala continue their score. Matthias getting past Carlitos as well, courtesy of that front wing damage that we saw from the yellow and white car. Matthias is out of the race. We weren't looking at it, but that is the baby blue almost Alpine car, and I think they've dropped it coming through the stadium section. We've got a safety car, and that brings Nordic Ninja back into it, brings Lakitu back into it as well. Also allows me to catch my breath slightly, has to be said. Also, we didn't quite catch it. They were battling very hard with Carlitos. I thought they got the move done from what we saw on the timing charts, but obviously a wheel maybe left in there, or it was just losing it on their own. Bit of a whoopsie moment. And are we seeing the leaders coming in? Yes, Marius Four is in. Moustache staying out on the hard compound tyres. You almost have to at this point. But the other driver on the hards in the leading group, Jan, also staying out as well, as is the 2 hard runs behind. So we have now got our strategic... what would the word be? Our strategic divergence. There we go. It was in there somewhere. I had to root around right at the back of the brain, but we did find the word eventually. Everybody that started on the hards staying out, along with even Knight and Devon, who could be the corks in the bottle, it has to be said, on the old mediums in 5th and 6th. Everybody that has come in has put on the white striped hard compound tyres. It'll be interesting to see what Nordic Ninja and Lakitu do. Nordic Ninja definitely staying out, is going to pick up a couple of places. That brings them right back into it. ET8 Paul started on the hards and has come in for medium, so they can sign in themselves to a 2-stop. Matthias has left the session. Unlucky there, sir. Hopefully next week you can come back stronger. Lakitu also staying out. So the top 6 all stayed out, as did Nordic Ninja and Lakitu, although they came into the pits at the end of lap 1. Everybody else onto the brand new hard compound tyres, with the exception of ET8 Paul, who put on a new set of mediums. Water sip number 4 on lap number 4. What a nice little bit of convergence there under the safety car. So Moustache leading the way. If we go from the tyre graphic to the positions gained, the only real one that we need to look at is Yan, who is up into 2nd place, and all of these drivers that stayed out gaining significant positions there. And you see there, all the top 6 yet to make a stop. I wonder if the strategy for 7th place downwards will be to try and extend these hard tyres to go to the end. It would be quite the mammoth stint, it has to be said, and they could leave themselves vulnerable to being caught right at the end of the race. Obviously, the guys on the hard tyres especially, and to an extent the 2 drivers that have stayed out on the mediums, those tyres aren't that worn. They've only done 3 full racing laps, as Carlitos lying around a little bit in the background there. So they're not going to be significantly disadvantaged. What we saw in F1 23 was that the advantage of brand new fresh tyres was extremely powerful, and well, if you didn't come into the pits under a safety car, you were pretty much dead, it has to be said. You're going to lose a whole host of places. You're going to be seconds a lap slower, and you're going to find yourself tumbling down the field. So Sipala into the pits for a 2nd time there. Hopefully that wasn't damage picked up under the safety car. I don't see a front wing there. Oh, I do see a front wing there. That is hugely unfortunate for one of the drivers in the default livery. Putting on the soft tyres, that's an interesting strategy call. I'm a big fan of it, I have to say. Big fan of that strategic move, but mainly because it's different, and we like some difference in the pack here, because everybody else has put on the mediums, bar ET8 Paul and Sipala. Watch out for them on the restart, going to be rapid. That is, of course, if they manage to catch up to the back of the pack, which they should do. 20 seconds off the back. Safety car will probably be in at the end of this lap, and we can get going once again. And what are the strategies going to be? Obviously for the likes of Marius Formula, for Casper Flack, for Zane, Darth FIFA as well. Then we had a little bit of gap dropped to Vasquez at the end, or just before the safety car came out, sorry. So those 4 drivers, along with Moustache and Jan, probably the ones we want to keep an eye on for the majority of this race. They look like they had the outright pace over the rest of the field. Can those 4 in particular make their way through the traffic? Diogo Silva, Christian, and then obviously Moustache and Jan aren't going to be too slow. And then even Nye and Devon also not going to be that slow on those mediums. That they'll be past their best, don't get me wrong, but they'll still be fairly competitive. Are we going to see the glorious message? We know the safety car can be called in incredibly late. As we go past the flashing safety car board there. Some divine intervention comes in here. The safety car is going to be staying out for another lap. Who does that benefit? Well, probably benefits everyone, really. Everyone's probably pretty happy. George Morgan and Gareth Allen debating in the live chat. FWM cars, we're still unsure. George put it perfectly there. Still unsure about the equal performance little bug that we're experiencing. As Sipala into the pits once again. Is this number 3? 1, 2, 3 times a charm. I think it is. What tyres are this going to be? Maybe just, I don't know, scrubbing a set of soft tyres, putting on the mediums, I believe. I hope I'm not colourblind. I've got that wrong. No, it's the hard tyres. Oh dear. That could be slightly concerning. We'll catch the pack up unless we see them crawl around at the back to try and make it go one more lap. And I think those are the tyres that Sipala started the race on. So you would imagine trying to extend those all the way to the end of the Grand Prix. Maybe pick up a couple of points, although they weren't able to get a flying lap in qualifying. And also been struggling around at the back of the pack. So I wouldn't count your chickens just yet. There's a lock up there. Probably not the best sign. We'll gloss over that though. We'll move back to the front where the magic's going to happen, you would imagine. It's probably going to be around this spot. Even 9 Devon on the mediums. Like I said earlier, probably corks in the bottle of champagne that is going to explode as Marius Foreman, Casper Flack, Zane and Darth FIFA and Vasquez, Saki, Nico as well. Carlitos was a little bit adrift, but I think we can get this confirmed by the camera angles. Got that front wing damage replaced, and yes, lucky escape for the driver running what looks a little bit like the Ronald McDonald car of the field in the bright red and yellow livery. Are we going to get the message FIA? We've got our fingers crossed. There it is. Beautiful message from Race Control. Safety car in this lap. Moustache is going to back the pack up and we'll go racing once again. It's felt like an age, but the green flags are soon going to be flying. Remember to check out GT Omega and Sim Racing Centre using the code PSGL at checkout. Get yourself some lovely discounts there as we return to racing. 18 cars. Lost Matthias. That was the reason the safety car came out. Look at the weaving as they try and get some temperature in these hard compound tyres, which are notoriously difficult to warm up on this game. Oh, and I think that was tapping the barrier. Certainly took out the polystyrene braking marker for Moustache there. Didn't look to be any damage, although that was certainly a bit of a brown pants moment, especially on the exit as well, as they're squirming around trying to find the grip as best as possible. And we are underway to start lap number 7 with Moustache leading Gian. Then comes Christian, Diogo Silva, even Nye Devon and Marius Foreman already on the move down to turn number 1, battling with Casper Flack. This could be crucial to try and hold on to this position. The McLaren Esports livery car slightly compromised on the tighter line of the inside and has to relinquish that battle for the time being. Got to be careful of Zane in the green and purple alien car sat behind them as well. But I think we're going to stay as we were, keeping the status quo from 7th down into 9th place. Although look, Casper Flack all over the back of the pole sitter, almost pushing them around this first sector. Not pole sitter, second on the grid by mistake there. Moustache still leading the way and has built a little bit of a buffer of nearly 8/10 of a second back to Gian. And it's actually even Nye on the back of Diogo Silva here. This could be a pass on the run down into turn number 11, although it's dropped back a little bit there, and I think Diogo Silva probably using a little bit of ERS further back. There's a big cluster of cars squabbling. That's Darth FIFA trying to go around the outside of Zane. Is he going to run out of road? Yes, he is. The cold shoulder shown by Zane, but keeping his foot in there is Darth FIFA. We've got a yellow flag. Yes, Isaki's come a cropper going through turn number 11. We can't look at that at the moment as ET8 Paul's picked up a couple of places. It is Darth FIFA ahead of Zane. Vasquez all over the back of them as well. Then it's Nordic Ninjas who's lost some positions. I think maybe getting caught up in that little instant involving Yasisaki. ET8 Paul on the medium compact tyres. Watch out for that car. The Pink Panthers trying to stroll their way through and pick up a couple of places on the softer and faster compound of tyre. Crucially for Nordic Ninja, lost a decent chunk of time there. This battle's going to continue. Zane getting swallowed up again under pressure, this time from the orange and black car that somehow isn't a McLaren of Vasquez on the run down into 17. Zane looking all over the place, certainly not troubling the apex of the past couple of corners in the alien car, but will stay in 10th for the time being. Behind Darth FIFA and Casper Flack, who's still chomping at the bit to try and get past Marius Formula. Those medium tyres of even 9 Devon working very nicely, because Marius Formula on the brand new hards hasn't been able to get close to them, having to certainly look in the mirrors much more than they are looking out past that halo in front of them, and that was almost a very scary moment. The lag spike we got, I thought that was Casper Flack getting absolutely thrown into the barriers on the left hand side there, but thankfully for the McLaren Esports livery car and Casper Flack themselves, and probably the guys behind, because they maybe could have been caught up in an absolutely catastrophic chain reaction crash, keeping it out of the wall, and we are still ongoing. There's a move for second place, slightly unexpected in fact. Jan had lost DRS to Moustache in front. Easy as you like for ASRT Christian to go around the outside and take second place. Gian dropping down into third. Then it's Diogo Silva and the two medium shod runners who will probably be thinking about a pit stop in the next 5 or 6 laps maybe, although the safety car will probably allow them to extend that stint a little bit. Marius Formula, when can they get on the move? When can Casper Flack maybe try and get in there as well? We'll have to wait and see. Marius Formula, Casper Flack, Darth FIFA Zane, still got Vasquez very close. Nordic Ninjas might to get back into the crucial 1 second window. Here's another alien car battling for position. It's Nico going at the inside of Carlitos. This should be straightforward as you like. DRS for both cars, but maybe lower wings and a little bit of battery usage as well gets Nico up into 14th place ahead of Carlitos in the Ronald McDonald car. Moustache still leading the way, but look at the pace being shown here from Christian, only eclipsed by Paul, who's on the medium tyres, so you would expect will be a little bit quicker. Jan down into third ahead of Diogo Silva, then even 9. And look at Marius Formula struggling, really struggling, almost dropped out of the DRS range to the group in front. This could be very, very crucial for the driver that started from second place in this race. Casper Flack, I mean, he'll be thinking he's got to get through any time now. Look at the gap, it's 0.8 of a second, now 0.9 of a second. Casper Flack a little bit slow actually there, coming off turn 7 and 8 on the kink straight through 9 and 10 up towards the braking zone of 11. We saw Casper Flack make an audacious lunge up the inside into this corner on the opening lap of the race. Christian very close to the back of Moustache, unable to make a move, locking up a brakes for the cars in front. I think that might have been Jan in the green car in third. Even Nye doing a good job to hold on to the back of that leading quartet. Devin right underneath the rear wing of the driver in fifth. Then it's these two, Marius Formula, Casper Flack, Darth FIFA Zane. Everybody staying in contention until we get down to 14th place Nico, who's dropped out of DRS range, maybe just getting it back but slightly understeering through turn 16 will probably cost the alien car a shot at the DRS, although maybe not. I still sat, no, 1.2 seconds there. I was looking at the wrong delta. Lactu with the first penalty of the race. ET8 Paul on the move once again in the Pink Panther car, getting past Nordic Ninja on those medium tyres up into 12th place now. And after that, quali band showing some very, very impressive pace as Casper Flack continues to almost push Marius Formula through these corners around the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. And Jan and Christian have caught up to the back of Moustache. It's Diogo Silva who's now under a little bit of pressure to try and stay in the DRS range, and even Knight pushing those mediums very hard with Devin in the second McLaren Esports livery car very close behind indeed. So who's going to be making a move? Casper Flack in the other McLaren Esports livery car, still all over the back of Marius Formula, desperate to try and get past last week's race winner in the Cosmos pink and purple starry car. This could be the opportunity. This is as close as they've been since the safety car came out and they stopped squabbling on the lap of the restart, and that's very easy, you have to say. DRS opened, but the overtake had already been completed, and Casper Flack is up into 7th place. Is Marius Formula going to contest it up the inside? Had a little look, has to think more though about Darth FIFA behind, who gets squeezed out into turn 11 for the second time in only the last 3 or 4 laps there, but he's going to continue to try and soldier around the outside, but now he's going to get run out of room by Marius Formula, and I think clattered the wall maybe on the inside as Devon picks up a 3-second penalty. That's the second of the race so far. Insert, that's Sipala with the third 3-second penalty of the race. Darth FIFA was trying his hardest to get through there, wasn't quite able to do it, and now Casper Flack has been released. Marius Formula has been left for dead a little bit, and this could be Casper Flack charging towards the leading group. Up the inside we go, battling further back. That was an easy move there. Zane under pressure once again from Vasquez, and that's not enough space left there. Into the wall we go with the alien liveried car, and that's Nico's further back as well. Zane, no, it was Zane there, into the box. We're going to go contact with Vasquez, not enough space left on the right hand side of the circuit. Zane was coming over to the racing line to get the best possible run and ended up driving into the barrier courtesy of that contact there. Expert analysis, I have to say. But it's benefited ET8 Paul. It's not helped Vasquez, who's dropped out of the DRS range, of the group in front, and even Nye very close to doing that as well. 9/10 off the back of Diogo Silva. ET8 Paul making really good ground on these medium tyres. We'll have to stop again, of course, as a big slide for Nordic Ninja behind them. ET8 Paul as Vasquez has managed to close up to the back of this group. Nobody very close to making a move. It could be Marius Formula trying to get past Devin here in the second McLaren Esports livery car. And once Casper Flack got through, the court, I think, has started to be opened as Devin drops down into 8th place there. Got a penalty to his name as well. Darth Freef will be next on the list, who has certainly looked very racy in this race to try and get up into 8th place and consolidate not only a points paying position, but and Christian. And Jan as well. Diogo Silva just inside the DRS range. Still, Yasser Saki further back has dropped out of it off the back of Nico. And you can see the Ronald McDonald car of Carlitos sat just behind them as well. Casper Flack on the charge once again. This is a move on even Nye. Easy as you like candy. From a baby up into 5th place now and really charging through, although very late on the brakes. So I think Diogo Silva may have been slightly early on the brakes. Casper Flack caught out by it a little bit. Devin and Darth FIFA battling, but Casper Flack trying to get this overtake done. It looked like it was going to be incredibly easy, but very late on the brakes. Down into 17, almost went off into the runoff area, and that was a sketchy moment for the McLaren Esports livery car. Devin and Darth Duper, that's definitely not it. Darth FIFA continuing to scrap. Big slide for Devin going through turns 2 and 3 as well. Those medium tyres certainly going to be past their best. And I think it's only a matter of time. Will it be around the outside of 4 for car number 4? No, it will not. Darth FIFA will sit behind for the time being. It's actually car number 41. Apologies, missed the number 41 there. I'm not sure what the bingo reference is for 41, so can't throw that in there either. Devin very close to dropping out of the DRS window. 9/10 just over. Darth FIFA is going to be on the prowl as Sipala picks up a second 3-second penalty for corner cutting in the first 12 laps of this race. Christian close to the back of Moustache, not close enough to make a lunge you would expect. This is the overtake we've got to think about. Darth FIFA surely has got to send it out the inside. Lockups again. Devin almost spooked there by the appearance of Darth FIFA up the inside. Bit of a wobble in the braking zone. Holds on to 8th place for the time being. Darth FIFA is going to be hugely frustrated. Caught up behind them there. And struggling to keep the lid on it potentially with Vasquez and ET8 Paul, who've been rapid in this stint on those medium tyres, trying to get involved there as well. And this should be the moment that Darth FIFA can breathe a sigh of relief, because Devin has lost DRS, and this should be fairly straightforward, although Darth FIFA may have to deal with Vasquez getting involved as well. They could be 3 wide down into 17. Vasquez is going to be very late on the brakes. Darth FIFA's got to be careful they don't get squeezed out. There is contact and squeezed into the wall. Darth FIFA with front wing damage. I'd imagine that Vasquez has some as well. Darth FIFA opts not to go into the pits to repair that damage, but that was messy for the second time. Now we've got contact again coming together. I think that was with Nordic Ninja. Surely we're going to see a safety car. Yes, we do. Pitched into the wall on the right hand side as we cut the beam to start lap number 13. 13 unlucky for some. It was unlucky for Darth FIFA because he was thrown into the barrier, and what a terrible sequence of 30 seconds for the driver that was certainly in the game for a podium. Got bogged down behind Devin, made contact with Vasquez trying to send it up the inside into 17, and then getting caught up trying to rejoin. Was over on the right hand side of the circuit, cut over to the left, and I think Nordic Ninja was there. Drove into the path, not quite sure what happened. But Darth FIFA is the second retiree of this race. Carlitos we jumped to in the pits to put on the medium tyres, worked out very nicely. In fact, Zane also has been brought back into this race. We can see the safety car handily parked on the right hand side of shot there. Well, that was an exciting sequence of corners, wasn't it? I'm sure Darth FIFA will be sick to the back teeth of what's just gone on there, because a potential podium has been stolen away. I'm not sure whose fault it was. It looked a little bit 6 and dozen of one. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, I think is the expression that Martin Brundle likes to use a lot. But trying to strike while the oven was hot there, Vasquez, and made a little bit of a mess of it. Got involved in a collision that was probably a bit needless. Not saying that it was their fault, of course, but yeah, I think both drivers will come away from that thinking that was certainly avoidable, is probably the way to look at that one. So what are we at? We're not even at half distance. I mean, how much action can you get in one session? I don't think Darth FIFA is particularly happy. Probably rightly so, getting caught out by what was going on there. And we are seeing drivers into the pits. Unsurprisingly, people diving into the pits, apart from Vasquez, who's going to try and stay out probably till the end on those hard compound tyres. The only one apart from Nico, I think Yasisaki staying out as well. These are probably going to be medium tyres to go to the end of the race on. Yes, look at the wall of yellow tyres. You think it's Borussia Dortmund with the yellow wall there, jumping into the pits for the mediums. Everybody coming out. And have we seen any positions changing hands? Yes, Casper Flack has got ahead of Diogo Silva. obviously because we don't necessarily know whose teammates is who, as Carlitos has retired in the pits. That is a shame, as we're down to 16 runners now. But yeah, it could have been a case that Diogo Silva was the teammate of someone like ASRT Christian or Gian, got caught up behind them, had to double stack, and then that's how the McLaren Esports livery car of Casper Flack got through. Or they got through in all of the chaos that we were seeing going through turn 17 and up towards the start-finish straight, and I just missed it. Because that is very possible, because I missed quite a lot of things. Diogo Silva in a solid position there as well. Marius Formula, I mean, where the pace has evaporated, I do not know. Had absolutely no pace on those hard compound tyres. Was lucky, really, not to get dragged into that little skirmish we saw between Darth FIFA that ended up ending their race and Vazquez. But still going in 9th place at the moment. You'd expect the pace on the mediums to be much stronger, although we can't count our chickens just yet. So if we look at how things compare to the grid, Vazquez up 7, staying out. Nico started 6th, up to 2nd. Now Yasisaki also staying out, is up 7. ASRT Christians had some really strong pace, stayed out under that first safety car, paid dividends, up in 5th at the moment, legitimately as well. Jan ahead of Casper Flack, then Diogo Silva, who's been a big beneficiary, as is ET8 Paul, now on the medium tyres, I believe, again, yes, and was absolutely rapid on them in the Pink Panther car, so we'll be hoping to continue that rich vein of form. Then it's Nordic Ninja, who I think was the driver that Darth FIFA rebounded off and then got thrown into the wall. We'll have to wait and see though. As we have now reached half distance. We've got a car ghosted there. Hopefully that's nothing untoward. I think it's Diogo Silva who is ghosted there. Lockups as well. Seeing a lot of lockups. Tyre smoke from Gian there, who hasn't quite had the pace in one of the 2 alien cars that we are seeing today. Yeah, we'll probably be a little bit underwhelmed. We're still very much in the fight there, it has to be said. Kept decent tabs with Moustache and ASRT Christian. Would have liked to be ahead of ASRT Christian, it has to be said. But beggars cannot be choosers, people. And yeah, currently 6th on the road. We'll be looking to make some very decent inroads in the second half of this race. We're going for an hour and 16 minutes and we're only at half distance. So anyone who is wanting to see Michael Smith versus Gary Anderson, I've just looked at the score and the dart averages, though we're disappointed. 15 of 29 laps. Vazquez will be the driver that leads us away under the safety car restart. I'm going to have water sit number 6 actually, just one moment. Thirsty work. Yasisaki, who has been in the wars a little bit, I think has been bumped out or faced the wrong way a couple of times in this race. Qualified pretty well in 10th, but certainly in the wars in the gold and white liveried car. With a little bit of a darker yellow in there as well. It was almost beige-like. Can we see it from here? Maybe we just describe it as gold and yellow for the time being. Almost looks like a quality street lap. It's quality street wrapper. Vazquez, though, the 3 in the lead are going to be well, probably sitting ducks, which is apt when Yasisaki's car is yellow. Oh, we got some damage there. I'm not sure what's happened there. It's Nordic Ninja and ET8 Paul, who I think have come to blows. We were backing up a lot. We really slowed down Vazquez out in front. I wonder if the stewards post-race will have a look at that. I think it was Diogo Silva and ET8 Paul, or Nordic Ninja, sorry, and ET8 Paul. Certainly saw some front wing end plate flying around. That'll be hugely disappointing, but very early Vazquez had gone. Nico's kind of gone with it, but Yasisaki very slow to react. Is going to be under huge pressure on the run out of the final couple of corners to cut the beam to start lap number 16 from Moustache, who started on pole position, of course, on the medium tyres, straight away going over to the middle of the circuit to defend. We are underway with Vazquez leading Nico. Around the outside we go. Moustache got that done even before we got to the apex of the corner and is up into 3rd place. I think Yasisaki could be falling through the field fairly shortly here. Christian, Jan, Casper Flack and Marius Formula also going to be in there. It was Nordic Ninja who picked up damage. I think, no, Marius Formula doesn't have any damage, but has dropped a lot of time to the back of Casper Flack. The pace is really not there in the race, unfortunately enough, for Marius Formula. As ET8 Paul gets past Diogo Silva, who I think may have actually disconnected. The car is still ghosted there. We'll return to that in a few laps' time. ASRT Christian all over the back of Yasisaki, pushing him down the straight through the kinks of 9 and 10. This should be very, very easy. Like Charles Play to get up into 4th. Moustache also on the move up the inside, and Nico gets it done before the braking zone of turn number 11. Christian, I think, is going to be on the brakes, has a little bit of a a look, but thinks better of it. Darts back underneath the rear wing of the gold Quality Street Rapper car and stays in 5th place for the time being. Jan right behind. Then comes Casper Flack, who's shown some really strong race pace. Got disconnected last time out and couldn't get back into the session. Was hugely unlucky, but was in that leading group before they disconnected and is certainly one of the favourites for the win. Sipala going through. Diogo Silva still disconnected at this stage. Pass for the lead though, we weren't looking at it. Vasquez on the hard compound tyres relinquishes the lead. Moustache has gone from 4th up into 1st on the first lap since the safety car comes in, and it didn't look very difficult. It has to be said. Yasisaki move up the inside, was that? No. ASRT Christian under pressure. We've got a big gaggle of cars squabbling. I'm not sure what happened there because we didn't quite have the right camera angle, but Casper Flack has got in front of Jan there going into turn number 17. Moustache with the fastest lap. They're all caught up in this bottleneck behind the hard compound runners, that are going so slowly on their old tyres. Yasisaki is going to have to defend 4th place. Christian trying to hang it around the outside. Door slammed firmly shut in the face of the driver holding 5th, and now under pressure from the McLaren Esports livery car of Casper Flack. Christian trying to get it done, still on the run up into turn number 4. No space there to send it up the inside or swing it around the outside for car number 46, and will stay in 5th place for the time being in the middle of 4 and 6. Funny how the world works sometimes with numbers like that. Moustache trying to break away. Hasn't managed to break the DRS on this lap, although will probably do so in the next couple. ASRT Christian, Casper Flack, Jan. They've got to get a move on. They've got to get these positions and overtakes one and done very shortly. Christian actually under pressure from Casper Flack. They haven't managed to get past Yasisaki. Later on the brakes as the McLaren Esports livery car of Casper Flack, and they're getting boxed in behind Yasisaki, who's a little bit of a moving roadblock for these guys. Squabbling. There was a big squeeze there. I almost thought Christian ended up in the barrier on the inside. Thankfully not, and will remain in 6th place after losing out to Casper Flack there. Moustache is getting away. The gap is now over a second. We bring that perfectly. There's a gap back between ET8 Paul and Sipala in 9th and 10th. So it's going to be this group of 9 cars. Might get reduced down to 6th as the drivers on the hard tyres fall through this group and then drop back from it. As I nearly choke on my tongue there. But look at that. The gap out in front, 1.2 seconds. Vasquez, we didn't expect they'd be able to hold on and manage to keep going. Diogo with a blackout, a power cut, hugely unfortunate for Diogo Silva. It's going to be no points, unfortunately, for the driver currently in 15th place. Thank you for our roaming reporters that are feeding us the information there. So, who of these medium runners is going to make the move? We saw how easily Moustache managed to get through. Because I think we've got a bit of a car part there. It's Sipala who has lost it, dropped it going through turns 2 and 3, facing the wrong direction. Doesn't look to have too much damage, it has to be said. And will continue, albeit right at the back of the pack, barring Nordic Ninja, who got that damage under the safety car restart. SRT Christian all over the back of Casper Flack, trying to enact revenge from what we saw on the previous lap. But it's Casper Flack on the move. Finally gets round Yasisaki, and Christian will be lucky to do the same. Under brakes into turn number 11. Has a think about it. Couple of darts over to the inside. More contact. I think that's Casper Flack running into the back of Nico, just because he's got so much more grip and speed on those 10-lap younger tyres. And this is going to be probably like child's play, coming out of 16 on the run down into 17 for Casper Flack to get up onto the podium. Nico, I don't think will defend this too hard. Struggling to stay too close to the back of Vasquez, to be honest. I think the alien liveried car is going to get bumped down a couple of places in the next couple of laps. Done well to defend, but they've dropped 2 seconds to Moustache, understandably, but looks like he's got some really decent straight line speed. He was actually getting close to Vasquez than Casper Flack was getting to them. Christian really close to the back of Yasisaki, but unable to make a move through. Jan with a bit of a wobble coming out of 17. Marius Formula still right at the back of this pack, needs to get a move on last week's race winner if they're going to challenge for the podium. ET8 Paul, a very willing spectator. In the Pink Panther car up the inside, I think that is Casper Flack up the inside of Nico, very close. They almost make contact going through 2 and 3, but the McLaren Esports livery car is through. ASRT Christian also on the move, maybe side by side with Yasisaki. Not a lot of space there, almost squeezed into the wall. We saw the sparks fly there. Is he going to send it up the inside? They're tangling with terror, it has to be said. Somehow they don't make contact. Jan's up the inside of all 3 of them. It's just going to be carnage. He's up the inside of Nico as well. What a move from Jan in the TRT alien car. He's now trying to pass what is technically his teammate as Casper Flack's on the move. This could be 3 positions taken in a matter of just a couple of corners. That is one of the best opportunistic moves I have ever seen, as Casper Flack does get up into 2nd place. Nico on the move up the inside of Vasquez, squeezing the not McLaren liveried car off the road almost. Look at this big cluster of cars. The cork in the bottle is fairly but open. The champagne is spraying for a couple of drivers. Jan trying to go around the outside of Nico into the stadium section. Unable to do it and is now ghosted. Hopefully that's not the disconnected, because that will be a kick in the back teeth. Marius Formula, out of all of this, is somehow up into 6th place. Who would have thought that he was 8th at the start of that? ASRT Christian, the big loser, just got shuffled down by everyone, and now losing another place to the Pink Panther of ET8 Paul, who's flying through up into 8th place. Yasir Saki, I mean, right in the thick of it. We've got a yellow flag and a safety car, virtual safety car. And what is that for, ladies and gentlemen? Is it, well, I don't know what that's for. I think that's ASRT Christian into the pits. What an enthralling sequence of corners that was. Hugely, hugely exciting. Christian into the box. That's probably race over unless the full course safety car gets called out here. Unbelievable from Jan. Didn't quite manage to get the move done on Nico down into turn number 11, but just threw it up the inside of Christian and Yasir Saki. I thought they were set for a collision course. Takes 2 to tango. It was almost taking 3 to tango there, but just managed to all 3 of them keep it out of the barriers, and it was Christian who was the big loser, jumping onto the soft compound tyres. DRS disabled, and we're going once again. Green flag's running, and I think Jan has had a better restart than Nico has had a better restart than Vasquez in front. Casper Flack's got to be careful he doesn't lose his track position. Got 3.5 seconds to chase down the race leader. Vasquez on the move, going defensive. Nico moving over to the left-hand side. He's going to try and get past Casper Flack. He goes into the back of Casper Flack, and he goes into the back of Vasquez as well. It's getting very messy in this battle for second place on the road. Casper Flack just holds on to it. Vasquez stays in third as Nico's dropped behind Marius Formula, who's just a spectator at this point to all the carnage unfolding in front of them. Jan up into fourth as Nico did get shuffled down there. Was really late on the brakes, made contact with both cars in front of him, Vasquez and Casper Flack. Sipala has rejoined the session, but they've retired in the pits. We're down to 14 because Devin jumped into the box to retire as well. ET8 Paul, what a drive this has been from the back of the pack into 6th now as Nico's relegated down to 7th. Zane and Lakitu and and Lakitu squabbling over 10th and 11th, the final points paying position. Jan on the back of Vasquez on the run down into turn number 1. Goes defensive, does the not McLaren car just behind the McLaren Esports livery car, and the alien car of Jan unable to make a move up into 3rd place. Then it's Marius Swarman and ET8 Paul and Nico squabbling with Yasir Saki. Are they set on a collision course there? Not quite. Yasir Saki trying to force his way past the second alien liveried car, unable to do so. 7th and 8th they stay with TRT Zane just 1.5 seconds further back. Oh, I need a water break at some point, but well, they're fighting so hard. I think we're going to miss some very, very interesting action. Surely this is the opportunity for Jan to get up into 3rd place and get back onto the podium. Hasn't got a lot of ERS left, and obviously Vasquez will get the DRS as well. But look at the tyres now, 17 lap old hard tyres. They're going to be well past the best, and surely on 10 lap newer tyres. Is it sending it up the inside? Yes, we are. Lock up on the inside front. Little bit of wheel banging as Jan forces Vasquez all the way over to the right-hand side of the circuit. But very respectful racing from the not McLaren and the alien livery car, but this time I think Jan's going to have the overspare place. Good racing from the two of them. Wow, that nearly... Jan is actually on the outside of Vasquez, not 100% sure what's going on, it has to be said. Vasquez has managed to get back up into 3rd place. Expertly done to lose the place, but then use the DRS to get it back. Going to have to defend again on the run down into turn number 1. Which way is Jan going to go? Hasn't actually got the overspeed to get through. Look at the lockups again. Every single driver locking up into turn 1 there, damaging those front left and right tyres. And we go again. It's going to be like deja vu the previous lap here, as these guys are going to squabble incredibly hard. Marius Formula could yet still get on the podium after showing some really poor pace on the hard tyres and struggling to make it through this group of cars. It is 3rd down into 9th, and crucially now Vasquez has lost the DRS from the car in front of Casper Flack and has a bit of a squirm coming out of turn number 9. Turn number 8, sorry. And Jan, is this the opportunity? DRS flap open. This should be very straightforward. Not allowing him to go to the inside, but Jan doesn't care. He's going to sweep around the outside and probably claim 3rd place under brakes. Cuts off the road for Vasquez and finally up into 3rd, and has got to try and maintain it through the stadium section. Look at the gap he's already built, half a second, and it's Marius Formula on the back of the not McLaren car of Vasquez, and this could be another position lost for the driver that was leading when the safety car came in. Stayed out, went for the alternate strategy, has done brilliantly to hold on to the positions they have done, but I think as we come to the final stages of this race, and yeah, I wasn't satisfied with just getting 4th place. What has happened to Casper Flack there? He managed to nick the DRS to the alien car, and suddenly Casper Flack, I mean, he was in the clear, he's over a second clear of Vasquez, has dropped down into 3rd. Jan flying on the road here up into 2nd now. As Vasquez under pressure from Marius Formula, Casper Flack hasn't been that quick, it has to be said, on those medium tyres since they managed to get ahead of Vasquez. Hasn't managed to pull away and has dropped a lot of time to the back of Moustache. Casper Flack potentially trying to get up the inside. Marius Formula forcing his way around the outside, then the inside to get past Vasquez. Not a lot of room on the outside. They're going to be side by side on the run up into turn number 4. Little bit of jinking. I think there was a little bit of wheel banging in there as well. Darting in there was their contact. We saw a bit of ghosting involved. Still side by side. Surely they're going to tangle. Yes, they do. And it's Vasquez that comes off worse. Pitched into the barrier. They made contact going through the swings and sweeps of turns 4, 5 and 6, and it is the driver, the not McLaren liveried car on the hard tyres, did so well to stick it out for so long, but finally comes a cropper, and it was contact with last week's winner Marius Formula, and that could leave Marius Formula under pressure. Does just about have the DRS, but ET8 Paul, what a comeback this has been from our qualifying ban. Round the outside we go, up into 4th now from 18th on the grid. Outstanding from the Pink Panther car. I mean, we don't get a break, do we? This is why you've got to tune into PSGL. I'm sure the F1's very exciting, but I mean, this is one of the most chaotic and crazy races I have ever seen in PSGL. Absolutely outstanding. Nico has lost DRS to the group in front. Yasisaki struggling to hold on. Zane, who has just quietly been closing on the back of this group as they squabble incredibly hard, doesn't have the DRS open yet, now does in the second Alien car, and will potentially be challenging for a top 5. Is a driver on those new and medium compound tyres. You'd expect them to get past Yasisaki and Nico in the remaining 6 laps or so. Still very much all to play for. Moustache is in the clear, and barring any whoopsies in the final few laps, should be coming home to comfortably take the victory. Another lock up into turn 1 there from the race leader though. And then it's Jan, Casper Flack, ET8 Paul and Marius Formula, and potentially Zane if they can get through this traffic. They're going to be the ones squabbling for 2 places on the podium. 4 into 2. Half of them are going to be disappointed come the end of this 29 lap race. Casper Flack though, I mean, we'll be cursing what happened there. Jan looks very quick. Has taken half a second out of Moustache in this first sector alone, it has to be said. So maybe this is not over if Jan's got some incredible pace. Casper Flack dropping back a little bit. ET8 Paul maybe smelling blood in the Pink Panther, hunting its prey down the straight we go. The McLaren Esports livery car of Casper Flack under a little bit of pressure. Will they have to throw a defensive shape? ERS light flashing. They're recharging as they come to the end of the straight. Not quite. Under braking we go. And the Pink Panther of ET8 Paul not quite close enough. Marius Formula, Nico, Yasisaki and Zane following in suit. We've got an 8-car scrap, or 7-car scrap, sorry, from 2nd down into 8th. Fascinating proceedings here in Miami. It's the best race I've ever seen around Miami, I have to say. The action has been stupendous to watch. Hopefully everybody who has stuck it out has been enthralled by what we've seen. It's been fascinating to be a part of and spectate. Casper Flack though, how close can they get? The gap between Moustache and Jan has stabilised in the middle sector. It's actually extended a little bit further. It was down at 5.2 seconds, now back up to 5.5. I think Jan was trying to charge after the race leader. He's now going to have to be paying attention in their rear view mirrors, because Casper Flack is going to be chomping at the bit to get this second place back. Was caught napping, it has to be said. I didn't expect it either. Jan only just got in DRS race, must have burnt all the ERS that they had saved up. Bit of a wobble there coming through turn 3 as well, but manages to keep it out of the barriers and pointing on the straight and narrow still. Nico's dropped out of DRS range once again. Both drivers in 2nd and 3rd flashing their ERS lights as they recharge the battery. Paul and Marius Formula doing it as well. Zane though, got to be on the prowl to try and get through Yasisaki and Nico, both of whom have done an outstanding job to keep this pace up. Same with Vasquez as well, who was unfortunate in that contact with Marius Formula. Sometimes it's just a case of 2 into 1 seat because the corners doesn't go, and in the end it was the not McLaren car of Vasquez who did come off worse. Is this the opportunity for Casper Flack though? He's recharging, Jan is not. Little look up the inside, thinks better of it, stays behind for the time being. That gap is extending, so Moustache at the moment is going to be clear. Even Nye getting past Lactu in the battle for 9th and 10th. Lactu potentially going to score some points here, although I'm not sure how many penalties. They've got 6 seconds of penalties. They've got to get a move on then, because the gap back to Vasquez is 6.5 seconds, but with much fresher tyres and potentially some damage for Vasquez after that trip into the wall. It could be a point for Lactu and a couple for even Nye, and those guys were battling for the wooden spoon last week, so what a comeback from a disappointing opening round for them. ET8 Paul close to the back of Casper Flack, not close enough to think about a dart up the inside into turn number 17. Marius Formula was dropping back a little bit, was very late on the brakes and managed to close up a little bit, starting that 26th for the race leader. Now for this, well dear, I don't know the word for 7 people in a group. Septuple. We'll go the septuple. That's definitely wrong. They're putting it. Battling from 2nd down into 8th place, and then it's 6. Maybe they didn't go wide. Maybe they didn't go wide. Gap out in front is, well, fluctuating. said it was 4.9, now 5.7. That's probably a more representative margin of what the gap between first and second is. Moustache continuing to extend that lead. Is this Casper Flack's opportunity? Is Jan going to go defensive on the run down into turn number 11? Is Casper Flack even going to get close enough for a move? No, opts to sit behind for the time being. I think we're starting to see some of the tactics we saw last week in Silverstone, where they were waiting until the final lap to make their move. Because we've seen as well, when people go side by side, more often than not, it has ended in tears for a few people. Carlitos, Darth FIFA, Matthias, Devin, and Vasquez, and ASRT Christian, Nordic Ninja to a certain extent as well, all coming a cropper in wheel-to-wheel action. As my voice is absolutely going. Casper Flack is closing, and everything I've said, ignore it. No, pay attention to it. No, ignore it. We're undecisive. He was undecisive, eventually stayed behind. I think that is the tactic Casper Flack is going to employ. Staying behind until the final lap, keeping that ERS charge high, and then making a last lap assault on second place. ET8 Paul under a little bit of pressure maybe from Marius Formula. Nico just about staying inside that DRS window. These guys, Nico and Yasisaki, have done an incredible job on these very, very worn hard tyres at this stage. They would have done pretty much the whole race on them. And keeping up with the drivers on much fresher, much faster medium tyres. Hats off to you two and to Vasquez as well, because the pace they showed was strong, but now starting to fall away. Lost 2 seconds to Lactu. Maybe some damage for the not McLaren car. Yes, that front right end plate is gone. Casper Flack putting his cards on the table potentially. Are we going to see the move, or are they happy to sit behind once again? They're side by side. We don't know what Casper Flack is going to do. Now he's decided to make that move. Jan on the outside is going to try and defend it. Is he going to dart over to the inside? Got to be careful. The Pink Panther of ET8. Paul sat just behind, but it is up into second place for Casper Flack. Does get that move done on Jan with 3 laps to go. And what has Jan got? Can't they get it back? ET8 Paul and Marius Formula also involved. Nico, Yasisaki, Zane. We've got a big group of cars fighting over 2 spots on the podium. Who is going to stick their hand out and grab it with just 2.5 laps to go now? As we take water sip number 7 or 8, not sure. Oh, it is refreshing. Oh, penalty for Vasquez. That's almost going to confirm the 1 point that Lactu is going to pick up, barring any post-race penalties. Penultimate lap started for the race leader. I fear we're not going to be able to see Moustache cross the line, because we're going to have to be focused on this all-out brawl that we're seeing between the guys behind. It's probably going to be the top 4 in this group of cars. Casper Flack, Jan, ET8 Paul and Marius Formula that are going to be the drivers pulling the shots and making the moves on the final couple of laps. But at the moment, I think Jan is going to be fairly happy just to sit in the DRS and the slipstream of Casper Flack, who has a big moment going through turn number 4. Huge wobble for the McLaren Esports liveried car. Thankfully managed to keep it pointing in the right direction. There's a mistake from Jan though. That could prove crucial, because ET8 Paul is certainly not going to back down from this challenge in the Pink Panther versus the Alien car. This could be the scrap that decides that Casper Flack may take second place in this race. I don't think ET8 Paul is going to be close enough to make a move. ERS light flashing at the back of the car. Certainly quick in a straight line. Jan's actually going to go on the offensive. No, he's not. Stays just behind Casper Flack for the time being on the penultimate lap on the braking zone down into turn number 11. Decides almost that attack is the best forward defence. Came under pressure from ET8 Paul. Another slide from Jan. Obviously struggling with those rear tyres. Maybe the temperature's going, or maybe just the wear that that Alien car is experiencing. With ET8 Paul, Marius Formula all queued up behind, waiting to pounce on any mistakes. With Moustache 6.5 seconds clear out in front. This could be ET8 Paul's chance, do you know? But I think Jan, this is going to be the opportunity for all 3 of these guys. Casper Flack goes defensive. Is Jan going to try and swing it around the outside? We're going to see who's last of the late breakers. It's actually Marius Formula, who's opportunistically centred at the inside of ET8 Paul, who I think was just a little bit passive there in the Pink Panther car. Somehow manages to hold on to it. Marius Formula missing an opportunity there to get up into 4th and potentially challenge for the podium places. Jan is the driver that's trying to stay behind as we start the final lap of the race. Hold on to 3rd place. It's like the Kieran almost. You want to be in 2nd on the run up to the final couple of corners, and then sprint finish on that racing bike of yours and fly past to take the victory. I think it's the Kieran. It might be could be the Omnium as well. Not 100% sure on that. Anyway, though, it's Casper Flack, half a second clear, and Jan, I think, is going to have to look behind rather than forwards on the run down the kink straight of 9, 10 and up to the braking zone of 11, although it was very quick through turns 7 and 8 there. I think Casper Flack was slightly wide and could come under some severe pressure. This is going to be the penultimate opportunity these guys get. Don't think about the run up to the line. It's going to be the run down into turn 17. Jan now decides to bolt. Casper Flack having to go defensive because ET8 Paul was there on the inside of the Pink Panther car. They're going to be 3 wide under brakes. Casper Flack later on it, blocking Jan out to the left-hand side. It's going to be be ET8 Paul and Jan now fighting over that final spot on the podium. Casper Flagg has done brilliantly to hold on to second. It is ET8 Paul. Started from 18th on the grid, now up to third. An odds-on favourite to take second. Who would have thought it? The Pink Panther car gets past the alien car of Gian, and now it's going to be Marius Formula trying to get past Jan, who's falling through the field potentially on this final flying lap. Do they have the ERS charge remaining to mount an assault on ET8 Paul, who's not close enough to get past Casper Flagg? Going defensive because Jan's going to go around the outside. Moustache is going to win this race, but it's the battle for the final spot on the podium. Smoke screen deployed. We've got contact further back as Marius Formula gets clipped by Nico there, but I think ET8 Paul is just going to hang on to it. It's going to be Moustache ahead of Casper Flagg. Zane picks up a penalty around the final corner, going to lose a couple of spots over the line, and it's ET8 Paul by just under a tenth of a second that takes third place in this race. What a drive from 18th on the grid in the Pink Panther car to finish in third. Marius Ford will be disappointed, didn't make the most of that opportunity that presented themselves going into turn 17 on the penultimate lap. Nico and Yasisaki, hats off. Excellent job there. Nico clipping Marius Ford into turn 17, potentially trying to steal fifth place from under the nose of last week's race winner. Didn't manage to do it. Unfortunately for them, Zane with that penalty just around the final couple of corners drops down into 8th. And even Nye and Lakitu complete the points paying positions ahead of ASRT Christian, who would have certainly been in that lead squabble on the final lap, you can be assured. As would Vazquez, who is hugely disappointed down in 12th and hugely unlucky after that collision. Oh, well, that was exciting. 93 minutes we've been going. I think a little bit more than that now. ET8 Paul drive of the day, 100% yes. Fantastic recovery drive. Got the strategy absolutely spot on with the safety cars. And a brilliant, brilliant performance. But also a brilliant performance was ET8 Moustache, who wins from pole by 6.5 seconds. Casper Flagg got their elbows out a lot in that race, it has to be said. Fighting very hard. And in the end, it's an ET8 1-2-3 with Paul coming home with that fantastic drive. 15 places made up to finish in third. TRT Jan will be thinking... missed opportunity, it has to be said. Finished second last week, now finishing fourth this week, dropping one place from their grid spot. It was there for the taking, second place. Casper Flagg, the pace wasn't that good, but the racecraft was certainly good enough to hold on to positions. Marius Formula will probably be a little bit disappointed as well. I think it was that hard stint in the middle that really cost Marius Formula the chance of challenging for maybe even a win. We're not 100% sure. Nico's, then Yasisaki. Mammoth stints on the hards. Congratulations. Zane ending up in 8th. Even Nyatt from 15th to 9th. Very good drive. Same with Lakitu, who finishes in 10th. From 17th on the grid, ASRT Christian and Vasquez disappointed. Nordic Ninja was caught up in that instant under the safety car. Diogo Silva disconnected. And we had a decent chunk of retirees. Devin Sipala, Carlitos Darth FIFA and Matthias early on. Well, that, for everybody that's still here, it's been an absolute pleasure. Been hugely, hugely entertaining as well. And I hope everybody enjoyed it. If we can, if I can give people a little bit of a little bit of a heads up as to what is coming next week. As I try and find the calendar. There it is. Season 30. We are going to Austria, the Red Bull Ring. That should be an absolutely incredible race like this one was. Maybe some DRS training, but Austria lends itself to overtaking, and I think we can all look forward to that race. But thank you everybody for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. Once again, a shout out to the sponsors. GT Omega, who power the stream. If you head over there and use the code PSGL at checkout, that'll be a 5% discount on all of their products, and Sim Racing Centre as well. The same code PSGL, that'll give you 10% off their services. But thank you everybody for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. We look forward to seeing you in Austria next week, and from myself, Tom, in the commentary box this week. Hopefully I have a partner next week. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.